Resuming debate, reprise de débat. The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Madam Speaker, I am proud to rise in the House today to speak to Bill C-26, an act to amend the Canada Pension Plan, the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board Act, and the Income Tax Act. Since being elected a little over a year ago, I have had many conversations with my constituents in Mississauga-Streetsville, ranging from security for seniors to things that concern the youth. However, one of the more consistent concerns that have been brought to my attention is what our government is doing to help working-class Canadians who are looking to retire. Many of my constituents have contacted my office and explained to me that even though they have been working hard their entire adult life, they are not confident that they can safely retire. And I know that my constituents are not the only Canadians who have such concerns. All across the country, middle-class Canadians are working harder than ever, yet they are deeply concerned that they do not have enough money saved for a stable retirement. More than 1/4 of Canadian families are nearing retirement, and each year, fewer and fewer Canadians have workplace pensions to fall back on. This leaves approximately 1.1 million families facing the intimidating risk of not having enough money saved to maintain their standard of living when they retire. These Canadians fear that because of this, they will have to work for longer than they planned and ultimately miss out on spending precious time with their families. As a result of this, a grandfather may not be able to take his grandchildren on a camping trip or may miss their sporting events because he could not get time off of work. A mother may have to cancel the road trip she was planning with her daughter for years because she was called in for a last-minute shift. Ultimately, many Canadians will miss out on many important moments. But it is not just families nearing retirement that are concerned with this issue. Over the past year, I have met with many young Canadians who are just finishing school and are about to enter the workforce, but are concerned that with fewer jobs offering workplace pension plans, they will find it difficult to save enough of their earnings for a stable retirement. It is no secret that Canadians are living longer lives. Although we should be grateful for this, longer life expectancies ultimately mean that the level of savings required to achieve a stable retirement is increased. With the population of my riding expecting to grow by 4% over the next 15 years and 6% over the next 25, there will only be more constituents with the same concerns if these issues are not addressed. Madam Speaker, I am confident that this bill addresses the concerns of my constituents and many Canadians across the country. With all 9 Canada Pension Plan participating provinces confirming their support, I know I'm not the only person confident in this bill. Once it takes effect, Bill C-26 will increase the maximum Canada Pension Plan retirement benefit by roughly 50%. Currently, the maximum benefit is $13,110. After this enhancement, this number will increase by roughly $7,000 for a maximum benefit of $20,000. This bill will do 2 very crucial things. It will increase the amount of money Canadians will get from their pension from 1/4 of their earnings to 1/3. This means that a hardworking Canadian making $50,000 annually will receive $16,000 annually in retirement. This bill will also increase the maximum income range covered by the Canada Pension Plan by 14%, so that those who earn more will receive more in retirement. Now, we have heard from our colleagues that they are concerned that the cost of this bill will put a significant strain on taxpayers. To answer this, the government is ensuring that the changes in contributions will be phased in slowly over 7 years, which will give individuals and employers sufficient time to adjust to the minor increase. For low-income workers who may be concerned about the change in contributions, this legislation will provide an enhancement to the working income tax benefit, designed to provide additional benefits that will offset the incremental Canada Pension Plan contribution. Furthermore, it is important to note that contributions to the enhanced portion of the Canada Pension Plan will be deductible. Providing a tax deduction for new employee Canada Pension Plan contributions will avoid increasing the after-tax cost of savings for Canadians. For employers, employer contributions to the enhanced portion of the Canada Pension Plan will be deductible for income for tax purposes. For self-employed Canadians who contribute both to employer and employee share of the Canada Pension Plan, they will be able to deduct both the employee and employer share of contributions to the enhanced portion of the CPP. Now, Madam Speaker, this last week I visited many local high schools and spent time speaking to hundreds of students. And when discussing the proposed Canada Pension Plan enhancement, these young individuals overwhelmingly supported this legislation. They understood and supported the idea of small incremental increases in contributions in order to ensure a secure and stable pension. Madam Speaker, it is young people like the ones I met this last week who will be inheriting the policies and programs that we create today. The support of these young people should be a testament as to why all members in this House should support this bill. We, as members of Parliament, must think of them when debating pieces of legislation in this House. I am confident that this bill will have a positive impact on the future of young Canadians, which is why I am proud to be speaking to this bill today. During my campaign last year, I had many young volunteers helping me. When I was elected, I promised to be their advocate here in Ottawa. By standing here today to speak to this bill, a bill that will have a positive impact on their future, I know that I am fulfilling that promise. The positive impact that this bill can have is truly significant. This bill will ensure that every Canadian worker can retire with a safe and secure pension. Young Canadians entering the workforce will enter with confidence, knowing that legislation is in place to ensure that they will have enough saved for when the time comes for them to retire. Thank you very much.
Resuming debate, reprise. Excuse. Questions and comments? Yes, it's Monday morning. Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Government House Leader. Oh, sorry, the Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my colleague opposite for his speech. You know, I heard him talk about how he was going around to his constituents and heard there are some people with concerns, and we recognize there are some people with concerns, and we know who they are. They're elderly widows, they're people that are lower income, but you know, this program that's being proposed by the government does no benefit to anybody for the next 40 years, and Finance Canada has said it will have very detrimental effects in the next 30 years. And when it does come into effect, the benefit's only 8%. So why does the member think that this is such a good plan?
The Honourable Member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. That's a very pejorative interpretation of what this bill intends to do. As I mentioned, I spoke to many high school students, and if I was to tell them that we have an aging population which is going to need medical assistance and retire at once, but they would have to flip the bill or incur the cost of that, and actually that is what I put to them. They agreed that we should prepare for that situation right now. It's prudent for our government to put these parameters in place so that they won't have to incur that cost later on.
Comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Thank you very much. I guess, as being said by the Honourable Member on the other side, and exactly what you sell is what you get. I mean, how you sell it, you sold it that way. I would sell it. I try to sell it.
I remind the member to address the comments and the questions to the chair.
I'm looking at him, but I'm speaking to you. Thank you. So, yes, I think the question is, and which is really the most critical point in this bill, is the effect on business. And businesses are going to take a tax on this, is going to make them lose jobs. We're going to lose jobs eventually, and it's going to be a levy on business operation. So can the Honourable Member comment on that?
Member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Thank you to my colleague for the question. As he mentioned, as he sold this as a tax, the way we see it is this is an investment. This is an investment in Canadians who have worked very hard to create the country that we have and enjoy today. It's an investment in future Canadians so that they won't have to incur a larger cost, as I said, because we have an aging population. Thank you.
Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Essex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his speech today in the House. My question really is about Canadians now that need that help, seniors now that can't afford to live, can't afford their medication, can't afford their rent because of unaffordable housing. This will not take place for 49 years. So my question to the member, as he mentioned, he cares about the people who in his community right now are suffering. My question is, what measures is the government taking to help seniors today in Canada?
Member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Again, I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. It is the current situation that's the impetus for what we're doing with CPP, but we are reversing the OAS back to 65. We have increased the guaranteed income supplement and its eligibility as well. So we are taking actions to address the seniors that are retiring now, but at the same time, we're preparing the next generation to help take care of the seniors that will be retiring then as well.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to reiterate the fine words of my colleagues that have just given 3 excellent questions. But my question is more about, I heard the member say that he was enhancing the opportunities for youth as well. And how can you do that, Madam Speaker, when you're increasing taxes through a carbon tax and bringing about present taxes on them, as well as this tax of a Canada pension plan as well? It just doesn't add up to a prosperous future for the new generations, Madam Speaker, as well as our seniors.
Great question.
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville, a very brief answer, please.
Thank you for the question. I would just actually reiterate or paraphrase what one of the students said. And he asked why we would put our head in the sand and let them have to pay for not taking steps now. As you said, this is a tax. We see this as an investment, and a lot of the youth that I spoke to see it as an investment as well. Thank you.
Before we resume debate, and I notice that there's been